What's up, guys, and welcome back to Spoken Truth. Right now, we're going to dive into the Eastern Conference All-Star starters, who we feel should be starters, and the reserves. Tunde, let's start with you first. Let's start with those backcourt in the Eastern Conference. Who deserved the nod? Which two players?
Yeah, so this one's pretty easy for me. Donovan Mitchell gets one spot, and Tyrese Halliburton gets the other.
Okay.
Uh, oh, that's interesting. I can already tell Danny's gonna argue. Yeah, I mean, for me, it's pretty simple. Maybe a little less simple to pick Tyrese Halliburton, but like, I mean, I think we're all seeing what Donovan Mitchell is doing. He's hitting off the dribble shots at a ridiculous rate, frankly, an unsustainable rate. But the ball goes in the basket, we got to give you credit for it. He's facilitating at a really high level. He's averaging almost 30 points a game on over 50% shooting, as again, a guy who is probably generously listed at like 6'3", 6'4". And a lot of it in their offense is them getting him the ball in different ways and letting him cook. He's cooking gourmet meals right now. The Tyrese Halliburton thing, I mean, I don't really see who else I'd be putting over him. He's playing at a super high level right now. I heard he's facilitating at a super high level, reading the floor at a really high level, shooting the ball extremely efficiently. I mean, he's the NBA leader in assists right now, right? I personally don't know how we it would be controversial when a guy is averaging 20 and 10 and flirting with a 50-40-90 season while doing that. Although, Danny, I know we'll find a way to tell me how. I genuinely look forward to it. But that's where I'm at. Chaz, we'll kick it over to you because I have a feeling Danny's going to have a lot to say.
Yeah, I'll go quick then. I definitely would agree with Donovan Mitchell. I feel like he's kind of the one that's locked into that spot. I do agree with you on Tyrese Halliburton being in the conversation. I'm not sure if he's going to be the one. Part of that being the fact that he's Tyrese Halliburton, compared to guys like Trae Young and Kyrie Irving. And I'm not saying anything, about his actual ability because like you had mentioned too, that he reads the floor better than just about anybody. And you add in the fact that, he's so young. And I feel like he's going to have a phenomenal career. He's averaging a league high 10.2 assists, I think it is, shooting 40% from three. He's just been phenomenal. A lot of double-digit night assists, a lot of 15 plus assist nights, which you don't really see that from a lot of guys in this league anymore. I think he's in the conversation. He did just go down with an injury. I think it was last night, right? I think he's going to be reevaluated in like 2 weeks, I think I heard. So I'm not sure if that's going to have any impact on it. The other guys I have in the conversation are Trae Young and Kyrie Irving. I would actually put Halliburton above Trae Young, even though his stats aren't as good as Trae Young's are, because I think he's just been more impactful. His team's been better. The Pacers are actually in a playoff position right now, and I don't think anybody would have seen that coming. At an above 500 record into January, which is pretty impressive. And then Kyrie Irving, like I had kind of mentioned for a second, not dealing with the off-court stuff that he dealt with. I feel like he's come back in and he's been phenomenal. The team has been playing better than just about anybody else the last 20 plus games. And then the fact that Kevin Durant is not going to be in the All-Star game, assuming that he's going to stay out with the injury, I feel like there's a good possibility that they'll fill Kyrie in that spot instead. Not as a front court player, but just as a Brooklyn net representing them. I think Kyrie has, the name recognition as well as the on-court statistics this season to be in it. But Tunde, I'm right there with you. I think if the All-Star game was tomorrow, I think it would be Halliburton. But I'm gonna have Kyrie as my pick right now.
So you hate Jewish people?
No comment.
I'm sorry. I had to.
definitely.
Yeah, I had to. No, I hear what you're saying. I think that's valid. Obviously, Kyrie Irving has played at a really high level. But like we talk about absences and we talk about missing games. Kyrie did miss an extended stretch of games. And like from my perspective, Kyrie missed an extended stretch of games for the fact that it was for the reason that it was for is even worse to me because there was no excuse for him to have to do that. That's worse than just
Getting hurt for a few games or something.
yeah, that's worse than just getting hurt for a few games. When it like that's the equivalent of like I don't know, shooting yourself in the yes, the equivalent of like, I don't know, Wile E. Coyote like shooting himself in the leg, except like I'm not gonna say that. Just it's the equivalent of shooting yourself in the leg. It's just not necessary. Obviously the counting stats are phenomenal. There's not much you need to say about any of that, right? He's Kyrie Irving. But I'll bet I will not bear the lead here. Kyrie Irving will not be on my ballot. So
First of all, F Kyrie Irving, all right? Kyrie Irving cost me some money. Okay. So I got a bone to pick with Kyrie, first of all. First of all, that game last week when they played against the Pelicans, I needed Kyrie Irving to score 2 more points, and I would have had $1,000. I needed him to score
Mm.
2 more points. He wanted to go on a little run at the end of the fucking game and couldn't score 2 little measly points, but instead wanted to run the clock out and couldn't shoot the fucking free throws because it's just good sportsmanship. You know, you don't want to make a shot or a basket. You know, that leaves a bad taste in the opponent's mouth. Dude, you cost me $1,000, dude. Like,
He does not.
granted, it was free money. I bet it was free money.
Oh,
I
good.
could have won more money, but it's okay. You know, but it's the simple fact that leave it to Kyrie Irving to cost someone some money. Leave it to him. He's good at fucking a lot of shit up. I would say that. He's good at doing that. He is not on my ballot. It's not just because of that. He's not on my ballot because he's not on my ballot. He's not on my ballot. Nah, not whatsoever. Give me Trae Young. Trae Young, I think he deserves to be an all-star. I think he's putting up better numbers than whoever Tunde said because I completely ignored him after he said his name.
Kyrie's out.
Don't do that. One of the best young point guards in the league.
Trae Young deserves to be an all-star. I'm just say that.
Let me ask you a quick question. I saw this on Twitter like 2 weeks ago. Who do you guys think is going to be better between the two players in like 3 years? I think it's going to be
Trae Young.
Halliburton.
Between Tyrese Halliburton and Trae Young?
Yeah.
Trae Young.
Oh man, that's a loaded question. I
No,
think
it isn't. It's Trae Young.
It's Tyrese Halliburton he gets his teammates involved way more than Trae Young does. I mean, the offensive rhythm is so much better on the Pacers than it is on the Hawks, and the Hawks have superior talent like at almost every position.
Trae Young is obviously a phenomenal basketball player.
Oh yeah.
I like but his play style currently doesn't necessarily lend itself to winning at the highest levels. Between the fact that he legitimately might be the worst defensive player in the NBA, between the fact that he doesn't move when the ball isn't in his hands, and I mean like at all, between like the fact that it's like, oh, he's super ball dominant. It is, you know, he's a phenomenal basketball player, super skilled, great passer, but he does play in a little bit of a way where even as nice as he is with it and as skilled as he is as a 3-level scorer, you know, creative finishes at the rim, he plays in a way where like the counting stats that he puts up are great, and it isn't necessarily done in the best way to help the Atlanta Hawks play winning basketball. Him and DeJounte Murray are playing a lot of your turn, my turn, and I just don't think they're good enough to do that.
With that being said, Trae Young is a better player.
All that being said, my answer to that question is probably still Trae Young.
Anyway,
But they gotta get him. They gotta get him to stop playing like a dickhead a little bit. Like,
anyways, Trae Young, I'll take Trae Young for 500. Alex, Trae Young, he's the better player. Like he should be an all-star as long as with Donovan Mitchell. I think we all agree with Donovan Mitchell. He's been playing sensational. Cleveland looks like, dare I say, a legit threat. Like this team looks for real. I mean, I think all of us first guessed it when they put this team together. Like they're cooking. They're making some noise up there in Cleveland. It's cold as shit there. So, a lot of people don't want to go there. LeBron, bless his heart, he went there because he's born there. But if LeBron wasn't born in Cleveland, I don't think LeBron would. Come on now, we all know. But that's besides the point. But I do think Donovan Mitchell deserved that nod. We disagree with the second player, but I have no problem with the guy that you were talking about.
The guy.
I have no problem with the guy you were talking about. No, no shade, no disrespect.
Why do people dislike? Why do people?
He torched the Warriors. I remember that. My sister was at that game. It was a couple weeks back.
Yeah.
He torched the Warriors, and my sister was like, "Man, he's good." I'm like, I was watching on TV. I'm like, man, every time the Warriors trying to make a little run, he extend a lead or he'll push it out or whatever the case may be. So he has a bright future. I just don't think he's there yet to be on par with, and not saying that Trae Young is on like this amazing level, like high level, but I don't think he's there yet. So I do think he can be a reserve though, which I do have him as a reserve, just not a starter. So if that makes you feel better, Tunde, I'd have him as a starter. As a reserve.
I'm just kind of confused as to because Wally Szczerbiak went on that whole rant a few weeks back. I'm kind of confused as to what Tyrese Halliburton has done that makes people this upset about him. Is it that he shoots the ball a little weird? Like, what did he?
That Wally Szczerbiak rant was so uncalled for to me. I didn't get where it came from. It was weird.
Yeah, he was like, "Hey, Tyrese Halliburton want to be all-star with the Knicks."
Yeah,
he was basically called him a bitch, damn near. Like, what did he do?
It was so uncalled for. I'm like, you're corny.
That shit was hilarious.
I'm like, you're corny for that, really.
And Wally Szczerbiak was a solid player, but who is he to be saying Tyrese Halliburton is a wannabe all-star?
Yeah.
Wally Szczerbiak did make an all-star team and was a very good player, but it's yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know.
I don't know either.
Okay, let's move into the front court. Chaz, who you got in the front court?
Yeah, I'm gonna make this real quick because I think it's pretty easy with Kevin Durant expected to not be in the conversation. I think it's Giannis, Embiid, and Tatum. I don't really see any way about it. That it wouldn't be that unless Durant was in the conversation, because obviously KD was playing just as good as those other guys as well. It would have been really difficult to pick one to be on the outside, but I think KD kind of made it easy for us with expected to be missing.
Real quick, because I agree with everything you said on the front court.
Yeah.
If it came down to who's out, if KD was playing, who's out?
I was leaning towards leaving out Tatum, and I felt terrible about it, but I think that's who it would have been, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm. Tunde, what about you? Who's your front court?
Yeah, so I think Chaz hit the nail right on the head. Mm-hmm. If they all stay healthy, KD gets a spot if he's healthy. Looks very clearly like he's not going to be healthy or able to participate in the game. So it's Giannis Antetokounmpo, Jason Tatum, and Joel Embiid. To answer your question, because I'm pretty sure you're also going to ask me the same question, Danny.
Yep.
As to who I would have left out amongst those three, assuming KD would have been healthy and would have gotten a spot on my ballot, which he would have. Oh man, would have been Joel Embiid, which is wild to say about the guy who's leading the league in points, but it would have been Joel Embiid.
And I tend to agree with you, Tunde. I think Joel Embiid would have been the odd man out in that situation. I think it would have been Durant. Giannis is undisputed. You know, he's there. And it would have been Jason Tatum, because I think Jason Tatum is having an MVP caliber season. Not to say Joel Embiid isn't.
I think
But
all those
also
guys
Boston
are
is at the
great.
top of the standings right now.
Yeah.
I was
And
yeah.
so
I was gonna say literally the difference for me between those guys was the playoff standings and specifically like Milwaukee's roster right now with Middleton, you know, having been in and out of the lineup and all, is a little disgusting. Especially the backcourt play that they've gotten this year. And Giannis has put them on his shoulders, but it's literally just been like the standings and the fact that you guys are probably gonna laugh at this, but like as of I actually took note of this, and as of like the end of the year, Joel Embiid had played like 300 less minutes than Jason Tatum and Giannis. It was literally like that much of a splitting hairs kind of thing.
yeah. Okay. Cool. So let's start with you, Tunde. Who are your reserves? Wherever you want to start.
Let's go the same way, so we can start in the backcourt and make our way down. I already kind of buried or spoiled the lead there with you know, what's going on with the backcourt as far as Kyrie Irving not being on my ballot anywhere. Jaylen Brown gets the first reserve backcourt spot. I think the defense for him has slipped a little bit this year, but I mean he's cooking everybody. And he's kind of sliding up the lineup a little bit more. You're seeing him operate almost the way DeMar DeRozan's operated with the Chicago Bulls the last few years. Been really impressed by the scoring uptick. He's come back, you know, and he's gotten better from last year. You always love to see that. The splits are phenomenal. In the mid-range area between 10 and 16 feet, which, you know, that's the kind of stuff that's really important to be able to score from there in the playoffs. He's shooting 58% for the season and 53% from the season from 16 to 23, the long twos. Is that sustainable? Probably not unless you're Kevin Durant, but that'll tell you something about the kind of work he clearly put in this offseason. So Jaylen Brown gets one of my spots. This is where it gets really hard. I go with Drew Holiday for the next spot. It's the defense. He is absolutely a phenomenal defender. I mentioned that Milwaukee's roster has been kind of stinky. Drew Holiday hasn't been a part of that. So when we're looking between like Drew Holiday, Trae Young, and you know Jalen Brunson, which is where I land. I think that Drew Holiday has had the best season of those guys so far, given the total package of what he brings to the table between the defense and the playmaking, and him still scoring at an efficient level to kind of warrant the selection.
Okay. Chas?
Yeah, I definitely agree with you on the Jaylen Brown aspect. I don't think he played tonight in the win over Brooklyn, but he just had season high 41, I think, the other night against New Orleans on like 71% shooting or something, which is incredible to have 40 plus points on 70+% shooting, averaging 27 and 7. I think he's unquestionable is going to be on the roster. And then for the other spots, since I didn't have Trae Young starting, I'll have him as my other backcourt on the bench.
Okay. So I'm going to go with basically we're all going to agree that Jaylen Brown deserves to be there, and then I'm going to go with the other guy.
Tyrese Halliburton. Let's go.
I'm gonna stop disrespecting him. Maybe.
Start calling you Wally.
But I'm gonna go with him. Because I think, although I don't think he deserves it over Trae, he is having an outstanding season. So I think the NBA should recognize players, even though they don't have the, they're not the biggest stars, or they're not a star, or whatever the case may be. They're not on, championship level teams, whatever the case may be. I think he deserves to be there, in some form of capacity, not as a starter, but I think he should be reserved. So, Tunde
What, for the front court?
for the front court. Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Oh man. So the front court's interesting because the back court in the Eastern Conference is like super duper loaded right now, and the front court isn't quite that. So we'll start off with Jimmy Butler. The Heat have been a little bit disappointing this year. Jimmy is still playing high level
They're
basketball.
always disappointing, but never mind.
Sure. The Heat have been a little disappointing, but Jimmy's still playing at a high level, still playing very efficient basketball, and is shooting the ball at a really high level from the perimeter, especially from three, which is not really something that you see a ton from him. So Jimmy gets a spot. Pascal Siakam gets a spot. Pascal Siakam has, again, the Raptors have been disappointing. They don't have enough shooting, all of that. Pascal Siakam is part of the reason why they're, staying afloat. I mean, he's even playing a significant amount of time at center while facilitating, again, a situation where he's putting them on their shoulders, averaging 7 assists a game, reading the floor at a really high level, and being tasked with being a primary shot creator and all of that. So the last front court spot, this is one where things are a little tough for me. But I'm gonna give it to Bam Adebayo. He's been great as well. It's funny that Miami's gonna have on my ballot 2 All-Stars while being a team that's like hovering around 500. But 20 and 10 with playmaking and being arguably the most switchable big in the entire NBA, in my eyes, gets you an all-star spot.
Chaz, your
Yeah,
front court.
so before I get to mine, would Kevin Durant be included in this section, or would he just be a wild card, or just be left off totally? Because he's gonna have enough votes to at least be on the
He would be considered probably a reserve, or I mean a wild card probably.
Okay. So
I personally am leaving him. Sorry to interrupt you, Chaz. Just so we're clear on what I'm doing, I'm personally leaving him off because he's not going to be able to participate. But
Okay.
I respect that. Go ahead, Chaz.
Right. But I think we all agree that, he's probably going to be on the roster just because he'll have enough votes.
Yeah.
But yeah, we can leave him off for now just for the sake of the conversation. I would definitely agree with Pascal Siakam being one. He's been great, even though the team hasn't been, averaging like 26 and 9. Definitely their best player, definitely deserves to be an all-star again. And then I think it's probably more likely that one of the 2 Miami Heat players gets on the roster and the other one's left off. Like you said, Tunde, because the team has struggled so much this season. So I'm going to lean with Jimmy Butler, getting the appearance, and Bam Adebayo just being on the outside looking in, just barely, because he's a guy that I think deserves to be in the mix every single year, with that, with the position that he's in at this point in his career. And then the last spot I really struggled with. I actually thought about giving it to somebody like Julius Randle, but I actually kind of landed on Kristaps Porzingis. That's where I'm at right now with it. It was somebody kind of like that: Porzingis, Julius Randle, Bam Adebayo, Paolo Banchero, all guys that I feel like you could make an argument for them, but it's probably more likely that they should be left off. And nobody really jumped out to me. Kind of similar to the Western Conference, where it was like Paul George, kind of, but nobody really, made it an easy choice. And that's kind of the same way I feel about the Eastern Conference. Right now, I'm going to go with Kristaps Porzingis, but I think it's just as likely that it ends up being Julius Randle or Bam Adebayo.
I semi-agree. I don't think 2 Miami Heat players should be on there. If I have to choose one, I'm going to go with Jimmy.
Siakam?
I do think Siakam deserves to be there. He's the best player on that team. Although the team is not great, I think he deserves to be. I'm having a hard time with putting Bam or anyone else and
Yeah.
on this list here. I'm gonna be honest with you. Julius Randle, no. Julius Randle, no. Like however you pronounce the guy, no, no, no. Porzingis, no. Like
Paulo Banchero.
no, no.
You're just gonna leave that.
Hell
You're gonna
no.
leave that spot open. Let's just leave that.
Hell no. I'm gonna keep it open because I don't think no. I no, no.
Cop out.
Who?
That's a cop out.
I don't know who to put there. If you make me choose,
Yes, pick somebody.
if I'm gonna choose, I'm gonna go with Bam by default. But I don't think Bam deserves to be there.
Yeah.
Like,
I
so
kinda
if
feel
you're
the same
making me
way.
choose, I'm gonna go with Bam. But I don't think two Miami Heat players should be there. So I'm just going with Bam. Fuck it. I don't agree with it, but like, okay, Bam.
There we go.
So let me ask you a question. If it was positionless, would you feel more comfortable switching in another guard, like somebody like DeMar DeRozan or somebody like that, or do you just feel like there's nobody worth that last spot?
I'm having a hard time putting DeMar in it too, but I think that maybe Bam deserves it a little more over DeMar. I'm not sure. I have to go back and look. But I'm gonna just go with Bam. I'm not by any stretch of the imagination comfortable with picking him, but I'm gonna go with him just because he got the position by default. Congratulations, Bam. Congratulations.
Yeah, I would have Bam on as one of my wild cards. I think he's probably going to end up being on the roster. I'm not exactly sure. Like we're kind of saying, I feel like it's kind of wide open. Those last like few reserve spots, as well as the wild cards, I feel like they're pretty open. So these next 3 weeks or whatever are probably going to have a lot to do with it. The Heat have been playing a little bit better lately. I think they're like 3 games above 500 now after being under 500 for most of the season. So I don't know. I would have Bam as one of my wild cards, and then I would have DeMar DeRozan as my last wild card, I believe. So, you guys have any other players that you think deserve to be on the Eastern Conference team?
Did we yes, okay.
Yeah, he's in there now.
We're to the wild cards, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Alrighty. So wild cards for me, it's spot one, Jalen Brunson. Jalen Brunson's played at a really high level this year. I don't think there's a ton of arguing that. Like I said in the offseason, when people were like, why the fuck is Jalen Brunson getting paid this money? He's about a borderline all-star in today's NBA, which is exactly the amount of money he was paid. He's made it look really good. The thing that I kind of call out to, and then I kind of look at, you heard me mention this for Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, but Jalen Brunson's been really good in situations we would categorize where it's, tough to score the ball, where, like you kind of expect the best guys to come through. Late shot clock attempts, like, 5 seconds left in the shot clock to get the ball. Those are situations in which you're giving it to somebody kind of tough, toss up a tough shot. Some guys would like not try actively to not take those shots so that they don't kill their field goal percentages from a statistic, from just like a pure stats percentage or perspective. Jalen Brunson is taking the ball in those situations. And as of the end of the year, 2022, 64.6% effective field goal percentage in those situations, which is crazy. He's salvaging bad possessions in a Tibbs offense that is not very creative. Can't do nothing but respect it. So he gets an all-star spot from me. That last spot is tough. This is where, like, if I could cop out and just be like, Kevin Durant's on the team, this is where I would do that. But we don't cop out over here. It's real tough for me. I personally would give Darius Garland a spot. A lot of the same reasons. Donovan Mitchell's getting a spot. He's playing at a really high level. Cleveland is a real contender in the East at this point in time. And then when I look at the other people who we would kind of be talking about, like Trae Young and DeMar DeRozan, I think Darius Garland is more deserving. You know, he plays on a better team. I don't think that's accidental. Like Trae Young is some of the reasons why Atlanta is struggling. DeMar DeRozan's poor defense is some of the reasons why the Chicago Bulls have been so disappointing this year. You know, and you know, last year I think one of the reasons why we had DeMar DeRozan, why so many people were talking about DeMar DeRozan for things like All-Star, and even some people like, what about MVP, which is always crazy, was the clutch shooting. Hasn't been the same this year, partially because he was making like one-legged 27-footers last year. That's just not really sustainable. So yeah, that's what my East All-Star ballot looks like.
I will actually like to make an altercation to my list.
It's not menswear.
I think that Cleveland deserved 2 All-Star starters. I do. They're 6 in the East. They're 10 games above 500. No one really expecting them to be this good. Like, we expect them to be decent, but no one expecting them to be a championship caliber team. I think they deserve their two point guards, the backcourt, to be All-Stars. So I'll move Trae Young out. I'll put him as a reserve. And then I tend to agree with you, Tunde, about Brunson. Although I don't think he is he's a guy. So, I mean, he got what the market demanded. You know, he's a guy. I mean, he's not a world beater. He's not going to make your team all of a sudden turn into a championship level team. He's just a guy.
He's not going to make you a contender, but he is.
You're going to win some games. You're going to win some ball games.
Jalen Brunson is literally being paid like exactly what he's worth.
What he needs
at the NBA level.
I tend to agree with that, based on how the salary cap has risen and how how these players are getting paid. I think he's exactly where he needs to be as far as how much he needs to make. So that would be my complete list. I'm moving Trae Young out, put him in a reserve. I'm putting Garland in the starting lineup as well as with Mitchell. I think they deserve it. There's some change for you people. We've been getting consistent lists from all of us throughout, especially the starters. So.
Yeah, so one guy that we didn't mention at all, 10-time All-Star James Harden. Do you guys think there's any chance?
No.
Chance?
No.
You think because he doesn't deserve it, or? I feel like there's
I don't think he's been an All-Star this year.
I feel like there's a case could be made that he is a reserve. And so I'm gonna look out for that, because I think it's a real possibility. I wouldn't have him, but I definitely think that's somebody that's kind of on that list that when the rosters do come out, I'm kind of expecting to see his name as a reserve.
Wouldn't surprise me. I mean, from a counting stats perspective, he's there. You know, he's been efficient. He's been pretty efficient. I think for me, part of it is just the games played and the absences, and then the team success versus some of the other guys that I put in over him. You know, the Drew Holidays and the Jaylen Browns.
Yeah.
You guys know who we forgot?
Who? We
forgot the one and only Kevon Looney. Like, he deserves some recognition.
This segment, he deserves recognition.
He deserves
the Eastern Conference segment,
right?
I'm like, why is he on this list, man? Y'all gotta be playing. Like, who the person that is everybody just alcoholic nowadays and taking drugs or something? Because ain't no way that man should be on that list, but it's okay. It's all right. You know what?
What man should be on what list?
He's on the first return.
Yeah, the Warriors have a huge fan base.
He's on the first. That man, I don't care how big the fan base is. That man should be on every turn.
Andrew Wiggins became an
About-
All-Star game starter off K-pop
because he
songs.
deserved it. Because he deserved it. He deserved it. Like give All-Star starter Andrew Wiggins and champion NBA champion his credit. He deserved to be an All-Star. You hate you doing all this hating. Hating will get you nowhere, sir.
I don't hate him at
He
all.
deserved to be there. He deserved to be there.
I respectfully disagree.
Yeah, the whole world didn't though. So majority of the world voted for him. So it's cool.
I
I don't know.
That's
Yeah.
not true, but it's.
I don't know if
we're
that's how
gonna
the
act
math
like
works out.
I
it's
don't
true.
think that's how the
It's not
math
true,
works
but we're
out
gonna
at all.
act like it's true. It's
Yeah.
not true, but it is what it is. Andrew's All-Star game starter, Andrew Wiggins. And don't forget NBA champion, Andrew Wiggins.
I feel like
You
you
ain't
think he's on track to be like a Hall of Famer or something. No,
You
He's
get in the
not.
Hall of Fame so easy.
he's
in the
not. Let me
NBA,
spoil
like,
it for you. He's not getting in the Hall of Fame.
he might have a couple more chips. He used to be
Hey.
a bus. He used to be a bus.
Yeah, I never
Yeah.
liked the bus talk, but I feel like he would need like maybe 5, 6 All-Star appearances.
He's in the right situation for a player of his caliber. He
You're right.
can't be the best player on the championship team, and they forced that on him. He was never that guy.
Yeah,
He
I
needs
agree.
to go to a place where he could fit into a system where he don't have to score as much. He could just be him. The Warriors fit perfect. Everybody, when they first made the trade, like, why would you make the trade with D'Angelo Russell for him? I'm like, just wait and see. They're going to turn that man into not a defensive stopper, but they're going to transform that man's game overall. And that's what they did.
Yeah.
Kudos
I
to
mean,
the
I don't
Warriors.
think his game has been transformed. I think he just operates in a completely different role than he was before.
He wasn't playing the defense that he's played the last 2 years with the Warriors. They was playing in Minnesota.
No, not really. But I mean, when we're talking about what his role is offensively,
He's
He-
been that scorer, though. He's been a scorer.
he gets to be instead of them, he's not on a team where they're asking him to be, I don't know, Jason Tatum. He's on a team now where he's being asked to be Harrison Barnes. And there's a really big difference between the two. When now he gets to, catch and shoot threes. He gets the occasional maybe ISO in the flow of the offense. And then he gets to, catch, rip, and go. But he's not having to really create a ton of offense anymore. And
No,
he's
but his
thriving
game
as
is
a result
not
of
the
it.
same that it used to be. Like,
Well,
Andrew-
I'm saying he's not a fundamentally different basketball player. He's
No.
just a role.
no, but also, I believe he gets better shots because he's in a system that allows him to get better shots. He plays defense better than he's ever played his entire life. He's more efficient. So when I say his game, like his whole game has changed, I'm not talking about from the lens of, oh, son, he can't score, or he's a more effective or efficient. He's a better effective, efficient scorer because he's in that system. That system has made him a better player, offensively and defensively.
Sure, it's the system, but it's also the fact that now instead of being the one who has to create the advantages for everybody, he gets to play off like Steph Curry, and also in a place where the ball moves and he gets to take open shots.
Well, that's a
That's
given.
like if you were to just look at numbers, as just a pure score offensive. I won't even just say score. As an offensive player, somebody like Mikal Bridges is always very efficient or very efficient scorer. And somebody like James Harden might be less efficient in statistical models. Mikal Bridges is not a better offensive player than James Harden. They just have different jobs, and Mikal Bridges' job is easier than James Harden's job. If you were to just look at pure numbers and say Mikal Bridges is a better offensive player than James Harden, that would be lacking, like completely and totally lacking of context for what they do.
No, but I don't disagree with you, but also we all know he went from being the guy to being a fourth option. That's not the debate I'm having. The debate I'm having that we're discussing is that he allowed his game to change. It is not that He went into a system and all of a sudden he knew he was unequivocally the best player because Steph is on his team, Clay is on his team, Poole's on his team, Draymond, whatever the case may be, all these players on his team. What I'm saying is Andrew Wiggins wasn't that guy in Minnesota. The way he's playing now, he's a completely different game. Not saying from a perspective of him, how many shots he's making. He's had to shoot 23 times. All this case may be. I'm not saying the volume of which he's shooting. I'm saying he's more wiser with the ball. He moves the ball, and you can credit the system too. He moves the ball more effectively and efficiently. He's played better defense. He's more effective. He's more efficient. His overall, all of his stats are better. Only thing that's different is his scoring has went down because he's not the primary focus on the team. But everything else, he had his best season last year.
Sure, but
Because he's in a system that predicates on him at his strength. And they've turned some of his weaknesses into strengths. He wasn't a good defender in Minnesota.
no, not at all.
He's capable, but they turned him to a good defender.
Yeah, I would almost argue great defender, but like, I just think the context is important. That's all.
That's fair.
I don't think he is a fundamentally different basketball player.
That's fair. We just have to agree to disagree, like we
Yeah.
do 95% of the time. That's what make it great. You
Yes,
know,
sir. Yes, sir. I
Kaz,
mean, if you want to say he's a fundamentally different defender, I would agree with that.